Hi guys, this is Matthew here, filming for Steve Webb and for my own fun. Right, this is sort of coming full circle for me. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I really wanted to get into RC as a kid. A lot of school kids had RC cars and I wasn't allowed to have one. My parents didn't let me have one because they thought that I would break it in a fit of temper when I tried to build the car, and retrospectively I'm pretty sure they were right. And obviously these days I'm a grown adult, they can't stop me anymore. They might dishonour my name, write me out the will, whatever, but I got some RC cars. I got a ready to run Savage XS and a few micros. And obviously these days there's a lot of mates, you know, HPI, Traxxas, Associated, Kyosho, really good mates. But when I was young, it was Tamiya. Tamiya was the one, everyone had Tamiya. Hot Shot or Wicked Willy or Wild Willy, Grasshopper, Hornet, Bigfoot, all of these different ones. So to come full circle and actually do a kit build, it had to be a Tamiya. And obviously they do a great choice of kits these days. They seem to be one of the main ones for doing kit builds. So I chose this one. This is the Dual Ridge 4-wheel drive buggy. Had to be a buggy or a monster truck for me. And I chose this one simply because I thought it looked really cool. I really like the body on it. They do a black metallic version which looks great, but it's quite hard to get hold of. It's pretty rare at the moment. So I went for this version. Obviously these kits are cheaper. I think it's about 60 quid cheaper than the ready to run version, and you get the joy of building it yourself, which I'm going to do. Not sure how this video is going to pan out. There'll be some commentary, some sped up bits. A lot of it will probably be skipped over because there'll be repetitive parts like the shocks and what have you. So I'll just do a little unboxing for now. This is the box. Yep. One thing I noticed on the other side, I got some customizable hop-up parts here. May go for some of these in the future, probably will go for the ball bearings, maybe aluminium shocks. I know the bearings will help it run a lot better, but I'll do the normal kit build for now and then see what is worth upgrading. So, quick unboxing. There we go. Instructions. Pretty sure I will actually be looking at these this time. Pretty standard stuff. Everything in Japanese as well as English. I don't speak Japanese or read Japanese, so I'll just use the English versions. We'll be following these through pretty rigorously. Having dismantled and rebuilt the Savage XS as I broke it, I feel relatively confident about doing this. So, okay, got that nice fresh new RC smell, rubber and plastic. So what have we got? Parts bag. Well, this is the serious stuff. You got the bearings, shock parts, motor in there, foam, oil, all sorts of good stuff. This is the hardcore part. So I'm going to move this back. So what have we got? Tyres, body shell. One advantage of not having the black metallic shell is this one is paint yourself, and I'll hopefully be able to do a painting tutorial on that. Wing, body tray. Plus I get these look like hubs at the end. Suspension parts. That'll be a bumper, shock tower parts, wheel parts. Not super keen on the white, but I'm sure it'll be okay. Internal motor mounts, whatever. Yeah, drive cups. Chunky dog bones there. This is the first 10 scale kit I have. ESC, so everything will be a bit bigger and chunkier than I'm used to. We got some. This is good. You got stickers and I think window masks for spraying the body. That's really useful, so you don't have to mask it yourself. And all sorts of bits. And I got a servo here from Servo Shop, of course. Got this recommended as a reasonably cheap but high powered servo. So I'm going to stick all this back in for now. All of this is pretty obvious. Clip it off the sprue, follow the instructions, blah, blah, blah. So what I have is my workspace here, nice, clean, neat. Selection of tools they recommend, a couple of boxes to put bits, ball bearings, screws, anything that comes off in here. I am strictly an amateur at this sort of thing, so I'm not bothered about having, the fanciest tools, a pro set up, a tray and stuff. You can just make do. Couple of little boxes, a towel to soak up any oil so bits don't fall off the table. It's basically just a matter of working your way through. Here we go, what tools have I got? Screwdrivers, pliers, blah blah blah. Totally bog standard. And yeah, you just work your way through. Everything is pretty methodical with these sort of builds. So there's a lot to do, but it's just step by step. I'm going to do it in the order they suggest, just to make this as simple and obvious as possible. And there's anything I see that I think is particularly useful, maybe like the diff sort of suspension setup, which I'm not super good at, then I'll go into more detail. So yeah, I'm going to just have a revise of this and then get cracking with it. Okay, so having said it wasn't that complicated, just follow the steps methodically. I found things complicated straight away because I was like looking for these parts, like, where are these parts? I couldn't see them, couldn't see what bags they were supposed to be in because I have quite a lot of bags here. So first thing to do is always make sure you refer to these parts at the back, what things look like on the sprue, so I managed to find the correct parts. G parts here that I need for this, so they do tell you pretty clearly what things look like down the side. Everything is named and numbered. So going to do the drive shaft assembly here, since that seems to be a pretty neat one. So I don't think they actually they don't recommend. Oh no, they do recommend side cutters. Cool, right? Side cutters to cut the parts off, so everything's nice and smooth. You can twist these off the sprue, but that is not good because you let little bits of a sprue still attached that could get in the way. So I'll make sure I've got all the parts I need. The shaft. Part GB3, I don't know what part GB3 is all about, but you need it. GB3, one drive cup, need another drive cup, two cogs. How many bearings do we need? Two bearings for that part, two bearings. These are actually not bearings, they're plastic bushings. Not my preferred choice because bearings obviously run smoother. Just check. May upgrade to bearings later on. Also I've got my box here, trusty box, because we definitely need to keep these in order. Just going to make a small nip, cutting away from my fingers. Get a couple of these pins out. I'll sort that out later. Everything's just kept in a box, it doesn't go missing. G3 spare gear stopper. And we need the fantastic, some parts are so big and obvious they don't need to be shown. So what is this gunk on here? Lube. Find that. Okay, put it in here. These are all kept, all the bags are kept. This is all like kind of the really key stuff that's not on the sprues. It's oozing out already. Lovely. Prepared for that there. Okay. So E2 goes into BB3 with some lube on. bit. Good thing about sprues can be useful in their own right. I'm getting a bit of grease on here. So let's check E2 and E2, they're both the same. This one. And a bushing. So, there's a bit of extra grease, doesn't really matter. Part GB3. So it needs to be a bit of grease just around the tip of it. Just put it on there because this is where it's going to end up. Cool. So a pin is ready to go in there. And then we have this, get that the right way around, another bushing at the end, and one of these, whatever these gears are called. They're gears that will meet up with the differential gears anyway. So, put that pin in. Pin will probably slide in and out, those do. Grease. Yeah. Where have you got, pin? Okay. Need them tweezers, I guess. So just gonna. Why am I greasing that bit? Oh, I should be greasing a bit up here. Never mind. Okay. Hopefully this all got the right angle for filming this. Right. Another bushing. Nice and good. Lubed, more lube on this bit of the gear. Right, so those bushing mats for the bushings to run nice and smoothly in there because this will sit. It shows you here, it'll sit in a slot in the actual body tray. Part 1, done, awesome. Part 2. Interesting. Okay, part 2. Like that. So these will be in part 2. Well, it's actually said part 3. Part 1 is charging the battery pack. I don't have a battery pack. I don't have a receiver for it. I'm waiting for those on order because there's a good reason for that. I can't remember. Oh yeah, because I wanted to get the kit as soon as possible, get started building it, and then I can sort out final electrics later. I've got the ESC in it, so that's good. Right, put that on there. There's one part ready to go. That's up there. That's on there. Ta-da! Right, I'm going to pause that and get it in the tray. I think the tray part's really obvious. Come back and get on with the diffs. Right, got this in the tray here, screwed in place. It spins as it's supposed to. I definitely think I would like to upgrade to bearings at some point. Bearings can be quite pricey with these, but the fact this has to rely on the grease to keep it running smoothly rather than bearings is an indicator that bearings are good. So, but we'll see. Just do this again. Right, next step, diffs, magic little diffs that make everything spin in opposite directions. So I'd like some silver grease here. So it is actually telling you that you've got to make sure any little bits of plastic sprue are trimmed off. So I'll do that. Very gently cutting. I know I'm coming towards my thumbs here. This is something I'm used to doing for modelling, and just gently scrape. So you could do it away is less controlled. You could even get a little bit of sandpaper and sand this off. I think that's okay. The thing to do is have a sharp blade and just do a little bit of pressure on it. Okie dokie. So, apply anti-wear grease to an object with a fine tip. Here's my stretched bit of sprue, cleaned off so we don't contaminate it with the other stuff. So you just basically grease all surfaces. So I'm going to drop one of these in for now. Oh whoa, that's really okay. That's really thick grease. So you've got to make sure you have enough for both diffs here. So as a guess to get this in, just clean a bit of this off the sprue and use the sprue to push it in place. It's the sort of thing where you're going to get grease everywhere. Get in, you cowardly thing. Right, it's in. So in looking at this, the dark areas are the areas where you need grease, so I guess I'm just going to get it messy, get myself messy, everything covered in grease. So be it. Okay, so that's one lot on, everything pushed towards the centre. Like so. And guess what? More anti-wear grease. I'm keeping an eye on the grease I've got here to make sure I do have enough for the second diff. Push that in. I reckon that is about as much as I'm able to use. They could have been a bit more generous with this stuff, particularly since it's an attractive silver colour. Okay, so there we go. Yuck. Right. Clean my hands as best I can. So now I need screws. MA8 screws. I haven't got these ready. Shambolic. It ain't that pack. Quick referral back here. It'd be really good if they had this in a separate printout so you could refer to it whenever. MA8. It's pack A. Here we go. Pack A. Right. Good thing is they do show you on here the colours. So silver ones are silver, obviously, and the dark ones are the dark metallic colours. So MA8. Art thou MA8. Right, I guess these are the tiny ones looking at it. Nothing else is that tiny. So, back this up. Just going to tip all of these out because I need quite a lot of them. And you've got a little grub screw in there, sort of thing that you definitely lose easily. I'll leave these to one side and check these are the correct ones. And then tacking screw. Yep, just that. Okay, so diff casing on, so pretty bored screwing these. When I dismantled the Savage, there was one point where I think I used they have a hex hedge for Allen keys, and after when I really dismantled it, stripped it down to the gears and everything, when I was putting it back together, after I screwed in my kind of 320,000th hex head screw, I was a little bit bored of them. A bit of pressure on the screw so I don't strip the heads if I need to take it apart, which obviously you can, diff gears can get worn. So being able to unscrew it is useful. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to quickly vaguely skip a step here and find out what parts I use the gearbox joint. Right. Gearbox joint, N2. I'm going to find part N2. Where are you, N2? This looks like part N2. I'm going to quickly take one of these is loose already. Get that off the sprue. This is always a satisfying moment to find out if things are working. Put that in. Spin in opposite directions. Awesome. There we go. Diffs are working. Feels quite stiff in there with the grease, which will be, I guess, a good thing, more kind of traction. So that's cool. That's working. Take them out for the moment. Get back to those. Put them back in the thing. Oops. Balls. See, I picked up my grease by accident. Right. Always make sure the gunky stuff's out of the way. I'll have to save that grease for the next diff. But diffs are working. Build the next one and then see where next. Right, back briefly. A couple of things to point out here. This is just assembling the diff units within the body tray. One thing that is quite nice about this build so far is that you assemble the parts and then you put them straight away into wherever they're needed. There's no, here, assemble this part and store it for later while you assemble this other one. It's like, you assemble the drive shaft, send the drive shaft, put it straight in, screw it in, assemble these, put them straight in. And all of this stuff is, this is highlights in here that you've got to get the note the directions of this right, so that I'm guessing that the motor pinion will, pinion gear will spin that way, this will spin that way, and that is going forward there. So, the other thing I was going to point out with these is a lot of like kind of mirror processes. So you do one diff, you do the other diff just the same. These diff covers are uniform, so you need more grease for this. They've been really miserly with this grease. I'm running desperately low, this stingy buggers. But yeah, I'll screw these on and then we'll be ready for the next step, which will be the motor, which we'll do in more detail. Okay. Right, hopefully this bit wasn't too dull, but all went together smoothly. One thing it's worth noting about me building this is I am, as I said before, a complete amateur, so I'll spill things, I'll get things wrong, I'll accidentally get grease on stuff. Hopefully I won't get things in the wrong order, that's feeling pretty good. So this is to show you don't need to be an RC expert to tackle one of these builds. You may not need to be a foul-tempered teenager as I was when I first wanted them, but you know, you don't need fancy tools, you don't need a fancy layout, you don't need to think I've got to do this super quickly or get it right first time. You just need to be a little bit patient, a little bit methodical. Everything is just put this part in this, screw this part in that. You know, you might spill things, you might make a bit of a mess, you might get things the wrong way around and have to redo them, what have you, although the instructions are pretty good with that. The only thing is you have to do is make sure you don't lose parts. Like if you drop one of these screws, I mean they are spares of these, but if you drop a grub screw on the floor and it disappears, you'll be pretty screwed. So this is why I do have a towel, do have some boxes for those. Try and make sure things might get a bit of a mess on here, but they're not going to disappear completely. So finish this off, back with the motor. Right. Back for the motor. Realised something was hampering me with this build and it was lack of coffee, so I got my HPI Racing mug. Nice strong fresh brew coffee. Right, 50% productivity increase there. So I've got the motor, got the motor mount, a little bit of motor plate, a little bit of card I guess. Screw slot, got everything ready here. And this step requires more of this bloody grease, which I'm pretty much run out. So I've got some heavy duty grease that was left over from some HPI spares I had, so I'll be using that. So what do we do first? Get the motor, mount the motor. Okay, so a little bit of grease on the edge of this. Right. Any particular place for these holes to go? No, just above the holes in the motor. There we go, got them lined up. And then going to press the motor. Now it shows for touching this in the right place for the spur and pinion gears you've got. Okay, I am back. Any perils and pitfalls of trying to record RC. Ran out of memory on the camera. So I'm going to redo this step so you can see what happened. I screwed the motor mount into place. I noticed on the diagram here, any sort of indents on the motor should be on the side facing the drive shaft, like so. I made sure to get that right. Not sure that's entirely necessary, but might as well do it like that. Next step is to put the pinion gear on, and it has got to be mounted 10mm out from the motor mount. So what I'm going to do, you've got the annoying tiny grub screw. Get that wee little tinker in there. So just going to get this in, try and get it in so it's just about going on. So I'm going to loosen it like that and then tighten it a bit. Now that should, a little bit fiddly this. There we go. Okay, so now I can get this measured accurately. Just going to tighten it a wee bit more. Okay, so that's about 9mm. That's about 10mm. Let's just check. Pretty much bang on 10mm there. Cool. I'm going to tighten this up carefully, and then I'm going to get it really blooming tight. Reason for this, I think ideally I should have a screw lock or something in there, but I don't own any at the moment. So, but these little screws are a real pain if they come loose. As I found out when I was having a really good bashing session with my Savage and out in a local quarry, kept losing power till it kept slipping, stripped down the whole thing, stripped down the gearbox out in the field, out in this dusty quarry. Couldn't find anything, put it back together, still not working. Stripped it down again, found the little grub screw on the pinion had worked loose, and that was a hell of a fix to do out there. So keep them extra tight. Okay, so just mounting this in, because I've had to do this step before, this is already kind of pre-greased in here with the heavy duty grease. What's I going to put? I can't remember, did they mention this? Didn't mention this. I'm going to use some initiative here and put a bit of grease, put a bit of actual lube grease on these, on the gears here. Pretty sure this is going to be useful. I want these running nice and smooth. Check this. There we go. Cool. And then put the mounts on here. What I found the first time I did this, I screwed it in really tight. There was something catching in the motor area in the pit gears, and this wasn't running smoothly. It will be now. So quick screw in place. Screws underneath for the engine mount itself, which is locked in place with the cover, so it's pretty secure already. Smoothly, that's all nicely screwed in. A couple of screws left here, I checked in the book. These are for a cover that goes over the whole engine motor, and also the receiver case. So that's done much later on after you've done the electrics and fitted the switch in there. So that's done, you can hear it whirring away. Kind of wish I had power at this point so I could see it all spinning, but I'll just have to wait. So after this, move on to the next step, which is a suspension step, and I'll see what's worth filming in that. Cheers.